VOP. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Good evening, Africa. My name is Bamakore, actor, model, producer, and I'm giving a big shout out to VOP TV, man. Keep watching. Don't change the dial. Thank you, and God bless you.
My name is AY, and of course, I represent.
Full of questions.
In a world filled with noise.
Before we begin the news, we will kindly urge you to visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending stories. Nigerian Labour Congress
Good evening, Africa. My name is Bamakore, actor, model, producer, and I'm giving a big shout out to VOP TV, man. Keep watching. Don't change the dial. Thank you, and God bless you.
My name is AY, and of course, I represent the voice of the people, and that's why I'm on VOP. AY say so.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Miriam Tima from the Real Housewives of Lagos and the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Africa. Shout out to VOP, the voice of the people. You already know. Stay tuned, keep watching. And don't forget, VOP is the best.
All right, hello, how are you? That's Shaggy, the man, fine back with Melanie Poppy Black Skin Boy. This is VOP TV. If you're not watching VOP, I don't know what you're watching. Maybe you're watching your weight.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Wale Ojo, and you're watching VOP, Voice of the People.
Hi, guys, you already know who it is. This is New Energy. Flyers boy ever live. Keep watching VOP TV. Thank you.
Hi, people. Jenny Albano here. Guys, please keep watching Voice of the People.
Ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Hello and welcome to the Media News on Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website. It is www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. First, the headlines. NLC slams 6 trillion naira Genco bailout as conspiracy fraud. Pengerson says executive order on NNPCL flouts PIA. National Assembly hails Electoral Act amendment as credible, inclusive. CSOs condemn Electoral Act assent, seek safeguards ahead of 2027 polls. ECA charges African leaders to prioritize health sovereignty. El-Rufai's lawyer condemns home raid. And in business, Nigeria to host GOG fishing vessel pilot register. In sports, MPFL fines Kwara United 9 million naira, banishes them to Abeokuta. And in the world of entertainment, Kunle Afolayan partners Benin Republic on Africa storytelling. Before we go to the news proper, we'd like to connect with our correspondent in Abuja on the recent developments as concerning the press briefing with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the press today. I'm being joined right now virtually from our Abuja studios by our correspondent, Jimo Ogirima. Jimo, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining this afternoon's midday news.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you so very much. First off, let's find out what's the situation, and then what was the outcome? I understand that the press briefing is over with INEC. What's the outcome from that press briefing?
Okay, we just finished the press briefing right now. As you can see, we're on the front of an FCT INEC in the Abuja here. So the INEC FCT resident commissioner, Malam Aminu Kashim Idris. So he just addressed the press now, and they assure the resident of FCT that the election is going to be free, credible, and fair. And again, he said that they have deployed ad hoc staff 373, and they have 192 of collation officer. And he stressed that 199 polling unit at Gwarimpa, they have a 199 polling unit in Gwarimpa. So because of that, the largest place in the Gwarimpa, so they now divided it into 40-40 so that they will not have much hinges from that place. And talking about the hotspot area in the FCT, you can recall the last press briefing by the National Electoral Commissioner. There are area that the hotspot like Kuje area, Gwagwalada area, and other area that they have spot. So we asked the INEC FCT Electoral Commissioner that what are they doing about the hotspot area, and they are sure that with the security agency they are going to make sure they cover the area.
All right then. Well, Jimo, still staying with you. I want to find out from you. Yes, you did mention that the hotspot area, like where you mentioned Kuje and the likes, have been covered by INEC. But then some are questioning the preparedness of INEC as concerning this election, and also following the fact that there has been concerns about some voters who have not collected their PVCs up to today. How much of that did the INEC commissioner, the FCC INEC commissioner, react to when he was talking to you people?
Okay, concerning the some of the residents that have not collected their voters card and all this thing. So we asked him, and they said that no one that have not collected their voters card, that everybody they have given anyone except the people that have not come to the INEC office to collect their own.
All right then. Well, another question that will be, in the minds of several Nigerians, and particularly the FCC residents, is the new Electoral Act. Is INEC going to stay and stick by that particular act that was signed into law by Mr. President just a couple of days ago? Would INEC stick to that act? And I'm talking about the real-time transmission of results after it's been done at the polling unit.
Question. I wanted to talk about it. We equally asked him about that e-transmission. That is this going to play out in this election? And he said that he assured us that it's going to play out. They are going to use the e-transmission, and with the security agency, they are going to make sure that that one play out.
All right, then. Well, we understand as well that you would be going out on the election day, but from the body language of citizens across the FCT, is there the possibility that we would see a large voter turnout, or we definitely will be seeing another low voter turnout like we did see in the by-elections in Anambra State? From the body language of FCT citizens.
If you see the body language of many people, what they are saying is that their vote is going to be counted, because having seen this the different protests over this transmission, that they are not sure that their vote can be counted, and they are not sure that they are going to use the e-transmission. So for the body language that I'm seeing from them, I don't think we are going to record a low turnout in this FCT election.
All right, then. Well, before all right, go ahead.
And I wanted to add, because as you can see in the present of this election, you can see if my camera lens can capture the security agency. So they are set, and they are set. You can see the security agency, different vehicles that are here to patrol. And before now, you see some vehicle carry the material to the each polling unit. So they have started, and they assure, and INEC FCT resident, they still assure us that by 4 o'clock today, all the material will be ready and will be taken to their polling unit.
Well, that was just going to be the question I wanted to ask you, because we hear how much of non-readiness on the part of INEC, particularly on the distribution of materials to different local government areas, of course, for the distribution of these materials to several polling units come the day of election. But then, finally, before I let you go, from your own observation, do you truly believe that INEC is ready? Now, let's not talk about what you were told, but from what you've seen thus far, do you think INEC is ready for the council polls in the FCT?
You know, our opinion, sometimes we have to be neutral, but what I'm seeing in the life of residents, like I said earlier, they are not confident, and they think, and they are saying that they don't think that their vote can be counted.
All right, then. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Jimo Ogirima, for giving us that insight report from the INEC FCT quarters. I want to say a big thank you for giving us this report.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, then let's go to the main news proper, where the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has alleged that the reported 6 trillion naira demand by power generation companies Genco's and the proposed 3 million naira federal bailout are thefts and an attempt to loot public funds. Accusing the power firms of attempting to transfer the burden of the operational failures to Nigerians, it insisted that electricity consumers and taxpayers must not be able to pay for what it called a flawed privatization model. Reacting to a statement by the Association of Power Generation Companies, the NLC rejected the claim that it lacks the competence to speak on power sector matters, stating that its members work within the industry and understand the dynamics. According to the NLC president, Joe Ajero, the privatization of the power sector was and remains a grand deception that has shortchanged the Nigerian people. He stated that the APGC's claims of victimization cannot conceal the persistent failure that has defined the sector since the privatization. The NLC argued that while the entire power sector assets were reportedly sold for approximately 400 billion naira, Genco's are demanding 6 trillion naira, while the federal government is reportedly considering a 3 trillion naira bailout for companies that have not demonstrably increased generation capacity beyond pre-privatization levels. In another development, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasset, has warned that President Bola Tinubu's executive order directing the direct remittance of oil and gas revenue to the Federation account could endanger about 4,000 jobs and destabilize the industry. Calling for the immediate withdrawal of the directive, Pengasson President Festus Osifo demanded and described it as a direct attack on key provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, that's the PIA, which was enacted in 2021 to reform and stabilize the sector. According to Osifo, the president's action tells investors and the international community that with just an executive order, the president can set aside the law of the land. He insisted that this is an aberration that should never have happened. Pengasson explained that the actual percentage that gets there eventually is somewhere below 2%, adding that the 30% Frontier Exploration Fund does not go directly to NNPC Limited, but into a designated Frontier Exploration account, clarifying that royalties are paid into the federal government account rather than personal accounts of regulators. Osifo warned of looming job losses if the order is retained. Away from that report, civil society groups in Nigeria have condemned what they called the widened political fault lines in the amended Electoral Act signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and called for safeguards ahead of the 2027 general elections. The organization, including Yaga Africa, the Kuka Center, Center for Media and Society, CIMESCO, and International Press Center, that's the IPC, and the Albino Foundation, TAF Africa, among others, who were involved in election observation and civic advocacies, described the amended act as a missed opportunity to deepen Nigeria's democracy. They described the signing of the amended legislation as one of the darkest moments in the country's democratic history, stating that the presidency's failure to address substantive legal, technical, and democratic concerns signaled a troubling prioritization of political expediencies over electoral integrity. The CSOs further argued that the law contained significant flaws capable of undermining electoral integrity, entrenching incumbency advantage, and excluding millions of Nigerians from meaningful political participation. Speaking on behalf of the coalition, founder of TAF Africa, Jake Ekpele, described the Amendment Act as a disregard for legislative transparency. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives says that though imperfect, the newly assented Electoral Act 2026 has been enacted in strict compliance with constitutional and parliamentary procedures, are reflecting the collective will of the Nigerian National Assembly. The acknowledgement came as the African Democratic Congress, ADC, accused President Bola Tinubu of weakening democratic credibility by signing the amended Electoral Act into law and vowing to mobilize citizens across to the nation to protect the integrity of future elections. Speaking at a briefing convened by a coalition of civil societies in Abuja, the House spokesman Akin Rotimi dismissed claims that the legislature ignored public opinion in adopting key provisions of the Act, particularly on electronic transmission of results. Amid the criticism over the contentious provision, the lawmaker insisted that due process was strictly observed throughout the review of the 2022 Electoral Act, culminating in the 2026 amendment. According to him, democratization is a process, and though what it produced may be imperfect, it was done in the best interest of Nigerians. Moving on, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Olawale Edun, has raised concerns about the huge cost of foreign borrowings as a major challenge to budget performance and the economy. Responding to concerns on debt servicing, the minister said that though the size and assumption of the 82.472 trillion naira appropriation bill were within safe limits, Nigeria's major challenge is the high cost of borrowing in international markets rather than its debt to GDP ratio. According to Edu, who spoke during the 2026 budget defense at the National Assembly, the problem is the pricing, as developing countries are forced to pay high interest rates in international markets. Edu noted that Nigeria currently chairs the technical group meeting of the G24, where debt sustainability and a rising interest cost dominate the discussion. As a remedy, he disclosed that President Bola Tinubu had called for the establishment of an Africa Credit Rating Agency to ensure fairer assessment and more affordable financing for African economies. Moving on, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, that's the ECA, has urged African leaders to prioritize health sovereignty as a core economic strategy to reduce reliance on external aid. In a statement on side events during the 2026 African Union Summit of Heads of States and Government, the ECA Executive Secretary Clava Gatete said the global order was shifting from hyper-globalization to strategic resilience, where nation prioritizes critical sectors such as food, energy, and health, insisting that health is no longer a social service but a strategic economic sector. The health security, a national security, Gatete said that though Africa spends approximately $145 billion annually on health, less than half comes from public budgets, leaving households to shoulder high out-of-pocket expenses. According to him, development assistance for health had declined sharply from about $80 billion in 2021 to $39 billion in 2025. He warned that Africa's reliance on external financing and imported medical supplies exposes it to price shocks and supply disruptions. Meanwhile, the lawyer to former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, Ubong Akpan, has condemned as unlawful and a violation of due process and fundamental rights the raid on his client's home by the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC. This comes as El-Rufai on Thursday spent a second night in the ICPC custody amid protests by his lawyers over the search of his residence. He was initially detained on Monday by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, but later released on Wednesday, after which the ICPC immediately took him into custody. Reacting to the operative search of the former minister's Aso Drive residence in Abuja, Akman wrote on X that the action was a clear violation of legal procedures. An ICPC official confirmed on Thursday night that the former governor was still with the commission but could not disclose the offense he was being investigated for. You're still watching the Midday News right here on Voice of the People Television. Well, joining us now to make sense, we'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more in the studio with us is Mr. Dele Fanimo. Mr. Fanimo is a seasoned reporter and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Fanimo.
Good afternoon, David. How are you today?
Fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing as well?
Fine.
All right, then. Also joining us virtually is Mr. Amobi Iheboro. Mr. Amobi is a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Mr. Amobi, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining the conversation this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, then. Let me start off with you, Mr. Amobi. Interesting times are here. But then let me start off with this situation of El-Rufai before I go to that of the economy of Africa as a whole. The lawyer to the former governor, I'm talking about Ubong Akpan, the lawyer to Nasir El-Rufai, clearly condemned as unlawful and a violation of due process and fundamental rights the raid on his client's home by the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC. What do you make of this situation where the ICPC raided the home of the former governor in absentia, as it were?
Goes a long way to show the impunity, perversing this administration. But I'm not too worried. Recall that after the announcement of the presidential election in 2023, Nasser El-Rufai was sitting right on the left-hand side of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when they were doing their Buga dance, with a lot of meat on the table and drinks. Recall also the body bag saga, during the elections and all that. What I'm trying to show here is that what goes around comes around. Now, El-Rufai, no one can dispute the fact of the role El-Rufai played in, during the election of Alhaji Ahmed Bola Tinubu and all that. But now the table have turned. El-Rufai is on the other side and Bola Tinubu is on the other side. So that shows us the lesson here is that nothing is permanent except change. So coming to the legalese of the security agencies raiding El-Rufai's home, that is the impunity in the system. That is why we should not support anything that is not right. Look at Malami of all people, being held also. Malami, 3 years ago, if you tell him that he will face the kind of problem he's facing now, he will not accept it, he will not agree. No. But that is the society. So the lesson for all of us here is that do the right thing.
All right.
Do the right thing. When you see that the right thing is not being done, just lend your voice so that, when you are also trapped, when you're also a victim of it, people will come to your rescue. That is what I'm saying here.
All right, then. Thank you so very much. Let me bring it to the studio here. Mr. Fanimo, the conversation as concerning the case that is being, leveled against the former governor of Kaduna State is on one hand. And on the other, some are saying this is a political witch hunt. But let's talk to the part where agencies go raiding in absentia buildings and apartments of people who are still in custody, and particularly to say the probe or the investigations is still on. Let's put it on the part of the fact where they have a warrant to raid in that apartment. Should it be in the absentia of the person who is already in their custody?
You see, let me say this clearly. Before we begin to talk about the legality or otherwise of home raids, we need to also understand the powers of the security agents,
okay,
particularly the police and maybe DSS. You see, number one, it is not in all cases that you require a warrant to arrest. And do you know that you as a civilian, I as a civilian, I have the power of arrest. If I see somebody about committing a crime and I have the power to prevent him from committing that crime, I have the power to arrest.
But in this case,
go and read the Criminal Procedure Act. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I'm lettered enough to know. Now, that was why I said those people didn't want to just create a scene. That's why they left Rufai at the airport. It's not as if they were not capable of arresting him using force. And sometimes it's not necessary that you have to use maximum force. You understand? Now, coming to this present one, it's not impunity. Allegation has been made.
Even if they don't have a warrant.
Listen, allegation has been made.
Yes.
And in the course of investigation, relying on what happened at the airport, the security agents doesn't need to take El-Rufai along because it will cause a scene in his house. And what if there is an ambush? If there is an ambush and those who are supporting El-Rufai, his sympathizers, decide to attack the police, and when the police now reply them fire for fire, you say, policemen are this, policemen are this. You see, anytime we want to talk, we should also understand that beyond the uniform, these people are also human beings like us. They are our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our wives, they are our colleagues, friends, and all that.
Yes,
so if you want to, if you, in the course of investigation, if you have every reason to know, to suspect that there could be an attack on the personnel, you keep the man in custody. He has a wife, he has children, he has people living in that house. That house has not been abandoned. When you get to that house, you show them the warrant, search warrant.
Search warrant.
And then, has anybody gone to find out when they went to search the house if there was a warrant or not? Was Malami there when they went to search his house?
I mean, Mr. Fanimo, we know these things happen with some of the agencies in Nigeria. The former governor of Imo State also had an experience like that. I'm talking about Rocha Sokorocha. These things are what happens within some of these agencies. So we're not even trying to make any case for them. But my point that I'm trying to ask from you now is, should the ICPC arrest Malam Nasir El-Rufai, isn't there a clear evidence that they had before the arrest, before now wanting to search his house? That's my question.
ICPC has power of arrest. Do you know that security agents are attached to ICPC?
I'm not fighting their power of arrest. I'm only saying, do they not have substantial enough evidence to have taken the man in, rather than just inviting him and keeping him to wanting to raid his house?
Listen, you might take him in. Some other things may crop up in the course of investigation that could necessitate going further to search his house. For instance, it was after Malamila was taken into custody, and in the process of searching, they saw this cache of arms in his house. If they have not gone to his house, nobody will see those arms and ammunition. So, from time to time, if they have every reason, for instance, if you know that some people have been taken into custody before they arrested Rufai, that was why, and these are people that were very close to him when he was governor of that state, a commissioner for finance and all that. So, in the course of interrogating these people, if there were mention of certain things within the confines of Rufai's house, and they divulged that kind of information, would they not go and search? They will go and search to confirm if there was such thing like that in his premises.
All right then. Well, again, my question before I jump off this conversation is, there is the conversation surrounding the fact that this is becoming a political witch hunt. And to think that there are other people who have other alleged cases with the EFCC, with the ICPC, with the courts, and are still roaming free. In fact, some are getting warrants to go for Hajj. What's your position with this particular investigation with El-Rufai?
You see, we always do why me, why me.
Why not you?
Why not me? Why should it be that anytime I commit an offense and the police is after me, then I will now say, come and say another thing going towards that direction. No, leave me alone, go and pursue that one. Why did I have to steal in the first instance? If there is anybody that is giving this government sleepless nights, it's P2B. Why have they not arrested him? Why have they not brought charges against him? So the fact that Obi is walking free till this moment has negated whatever anybody is saying that something is politically motivated.
I clearly now understand your position, Mr. Fanimo. Well, Mazi Amobi, maybe I want to jump off this conversation, but something is making me wanting to still ask you. On the part of ICPC, EFCC, and of course, some of these agencies having huge evidences, substantial evidences against whoever they arrest, Do you think that Malam Nasser El-Rufai, as it stands, might be prosecuted, just like we see Malami, the former AGF, being prosecuted in court as well, as it's going?
Yeah, let me take a cue from the former chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshimele. He said that once you join the APC, your sins are forgiven. It's on record. Once El-Rufai, jumped ship from APC to ADC, his sins are becoming more dirtier. That is what it means. So you cannot possibly rule out political issues around this. Like I painted the picture earlier on, these guys were two good friends, very close friends, and he participated actively in bringing the president into power.
But there's also the statement of there is no permanent friend or permanent enemy.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. So let him face the music.
All right then.
If he's found guilty of whatever, so be it.
All right then. Let me jump from that conversation to talk about the economy. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Olawale Edun, has raised concerns about the huge cost of foreign borrowing as a major challenge to budget performance and the economy. Now, this is something of major concern because as it stands, according to him, the huge size of our budget, that's a 58.472 trillion naira appropriation bill, according to him, is still safe within the limits. But concerns about the interest of these international markets, international borrowing, is what he has brought to the fore. What do you make of this open statement by the Minister of the Economy, which again is a major concern for economists who have said that Nigeria is not doing well on the macro level?
This revelation is coming from the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. I'm happy. If any one of us had said it, it would be like, we are not being constructive in our analysis or criticisms or whatever. But this is coming from, the minister himself. So that makes us to take it more seriously. If, and tomorrow, if you don't take time, tomorrow, Mr. President will want another loan, the National Assembly will readily oblige. So what it tells me is that, and this preponderance of loans, in the system, it's not going to be good enough for our economy, particularly when we are not producing, when we're a consumption kind of economy. It will not help us in the long run. So the alarm the minister have raised is a wake-up call for the administration.
All right then.
The wake-up call that Mr. President rejig his economic policies.
All right then.
Because the rate we are going, I'm afraid this is coming from an insider. It is not from the opposition, as it were.
We're really pressed for time. Thank you so very much for your submission. Mr. Fadimo, high interest rates on the international markets, one of the major conversation from the part of Edu as concerning these loans that we keep getting over time. Some would say this looks like the truth coming from one who is mostly supposed to be the one saying it to Nigerians.
Like Manzi said, who is in a better position to appraise our economy if not for the Minister of Finance, if not the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy? And if he's sounding the alarm about the trajectory of our economy, particularly on the issue of borrowing,
yes,
you cannot fault him. But I think the lesson here and what we should be considering now is to look inward and see how best we can manage the resources at our disposal and cut waste as much as possible so that the economy can can run on the speed that is required. And then we also had to reduce our ostentatious lifestyle to reflect what is going on in the country and particularly the economic sphere, so that we can also have the buy-in of the common man on the street. You can't tell me to tighten my belt to the last hole, right, and then you keep expanding your own belt hole and even joining more to it to accommodate how fat you are. Then you are telling me that I'm stupid if I have to follow you.
Oh, well, because of our time, really, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the Media News. Big thank you to the gentlemen who joined in and, of course, lending their voice. In the studio with us, we had Mr. Daly Fanimo, seasoned reporter, public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Thank you so very much for being here, sir.
My pleasure.
Also, Mazi Amobi-Heboro, virtually, he joined us, and I'm talking about Mazi is also, yes, a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Thank you so very much for being here, Mazi.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, Lagos urges use of toll-free lines to report gender-based violence. These and more when we return after this break. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back. It is still the Media News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now to more stories. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, that's the DSVA, has urged residents to use its toll-free helplines to report cases of sexual and gender-based violence. It made the call during community sensitization sessions at the Igboyi and Odumola communities in Ekpe, aimed at raising awareness about the forms, impact, and prevention of abuse. Participants were educated on available support services and the importance of reporting incidents promptly to ensure timely interventions and protection for survivors. The engagement reinforced the agency's commitment to strengthening grassroots collaboration and ensuring that survivors have access to confidential and responsive support services. Speaking at the event, the Boye monarch, Oba Abdulrazak Musa, warned against bullying and encouraged students, teachers, vocational trainees, traditional chiefs, and other community members to speak up and report cases of abuse. Moving on, Edo State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development has reviewed implementation of the state's Child Rights Law, noting progress as well as ongoing challenges. At a meeting in Benin City, stakeholders cited funding and awareness gaps and called for stronger collaborations to enhance child protection across the state. Our correspondent in Benin City, Rhoda Johnny, has more in this report. Well, we sincerely do apologize for not bringing that report to you. Also, public schools in Edo State are set for a statewide tree planting exercise to address rising temperatures and environmental degradation in learning environments. The initiative, organized by the Universal Basic Education Commission in partnership with state education boards, will see thousands of trees planted across the 3 senatorial districts. Also, our correspondent, Rhoda Johnny, has more in this report. You're still watching the Media News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go on a very short break right now. When we return, more stories in business, sports, and entertainment will be up next. Please stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headline,
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Glad to have you back. It is still the media news right here on Voice of the People Television. The Lagos State chapter of the National Union of Road Transport Workers has unveiled a new motor park in Oyigbo, named after President Bola Tinubu. The union says the modern facility aims to improve transport operations and services for the commuters. Our correspondent Onyeka Ogolo has more in this report.
Tinubu Modern Garage was inaugurated in the presence of union leaders, traditional rulers, and top Lagos state officials. Union leaders described the project as a major investment aimed at improving transport operations and providing better working conditions for drivers in one of Lagos' busiest commercial hubs.
This park as you are seeing, it will reduce any traffic on this axis anymore. Our vehicle will be in this park, and there will be passenger and drop passenger, and they will move conveniently. This is the dream of our station for a long time, and this is the first phase. We are continuing. We have almost 5 phases. There's another one coming up in Oyigbo, roundabout. We will move to that. Another one is coming up in Makoko. More of it is coming up, and we are capable of doing it. When the state government give us a land to do it, we will do it.
Among dignitaries of the unveiling were the NURTW Lagos Chairman Mustafa Sego, the Oba of Lagos Obariwan Aremu, Chief of Staff to the Governor Tayo Ayinde, Commissioner for Transportation Oluwaseun Oshiyemi, and the Governor's Special Advisor on Transport Shola Giwa.
Àwọn tó wá kí wá nígbà níbi tó ti máa ń pàdé mi níkẹjà tá a tún máa sọ̀rọ̀ tó máa kúná ọ̀rọ̀ mi ò ní pọ̀ púpọ̀ ju pé we should maintain peace in Lagos State. Tá bá maintain peace in Lagos State bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe jẹ́ tiwa gbogbo ẹ̀ máa kún ní 2020 àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ so nǹkan tá a fẹ́ nìyẹn, and I want to commend you for maintaining peace tí kò sí jà pé ẹ̀ ń hí ìtara yín ẹ̀ ń bára yín jà. But nǹkan tó kọ̀ wá lẹ́yìn sí misunderstanding kékeré ni a dẹ̀ máa parí ẹ̀ Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ bá a parí ẹ̀.
It's not good enough. So what we are saying in essence, emulate what Sego has done. Emulate what he has done and what we are doing here today, so that you can take away your vehicles out of the road for free flow of traveling. So I'm sure it is possible. I'm sure you can do this. So I'm using this opportunity to encourage all of you to bring sanity into our society.
This project also reflects Lagos' enduring tradition of transport reform, built on collaboration, a legacy of forward-looking leadership that continues to guide our progress today in alignment with the renewed hope vision of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. As we commission this facility, we reaffirm our commitment to a transport system that is safe, efficient, technology-driven, and worthy of a global city. Our goal is simple but profound: a Lagos where movement is seamless, livelihoods are protected, and every commuter travels with dignity.
The modern garage is expected to promote orderly loading, enhance safety, and strengthen service delivery for commuters operating in and around the Oyingbo axis. The Transport Union says the project underscores its commitment to upgrading infrastructure and supporting efficient transport services across Lagos.
Thank you so very much, Onyeka, for that report. Moving on to some business stories. The Fishery Committee for the West African Gulf of Guinea says Nigeria is accepted to host the pilot implementation of the regional record of authorized fishing vessels in West Africa. FCWC Chairman Dr. Adeboyega Oyetola announced the developments in Abuja during a meeting with his body's Secretary General Antonio Dinhilo and the Secretariat staff, stating that the move aims to combating illegal fishing and strengthening maritime governance across the Gulf of Guinea. Oyetola, who is also Nigeria's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, said Nigeria's decision to host the pilot phase of the regional register demonstrates its resolve to translate leadership into measurable outcomes for sustainable fisheries management. According to the Special Advisor on Media, Dr. Bolaji Akinola, Oyetola noted that the proposed register will create a verified database of industrial fishing vessels authorized to operate within the maritime zones of FCWC member states, covering both foreign and national fleets. He further explained that the system is designed to improve transparency, accountability, and cross-border cooperation in a region heavily affected by illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. From business, we move straight to sports, where the Nigerian Premier Football League, that's the NPFL, has fined Kwara United a sum of 9 million naira and banished the club from Ilorin to Abeokuta following the security breaches and crowd violence during their match day 22's rescheduled fixture. The fine comprises 2 million naira for inadequate security, 1 million naira for failure to control supporters, 2 million naira for the assault on match official and Rivers United officials, and 1 million for unsporting conduct. The club was also fined 1 million naira for holding match officials and Rivers United officials hosted for several hours after the match, and 2 million naira in compensation cost for treatment and damages sustained by the affected officials. In a statement, the league body accused Kwara United of failing to provide adequate and effective security, which it said led to unauthorized persons gaining access to restricted areas. The club was also found culpable of not ensuring proper conduct of its supporters, which led to harassment and injury to match officials and officials of Rivers United. And from sports, we go straight to entertainment, where the Kunle Afolayan production, CAP, and the Republic of Benin Republic have signed a strategic partnership to promote African cinema, empower the youth, and develop global competitiveness, creative infrastructure in the region. The government delegation from Benin Republic, led by the Special Advisor to the President, Senator Saka, and included the Director of Cinema and Performing Arts at the Agency of the Development of Arts and Culture for Sao Lofin, formalized the partnership with CAP Group. Speaking on the development, Afolayan said the partnership is focused on co-production of films and showcased authentic African stories, structured youth training in filmmaking and creative production, and the development of a world-class film city in Oida, Benin Republic. He described the collaboration as a defining moment for African cinema, where visionary leadership, cultural authenticity, and creative enterprise coverage to project African stories, its people, and creative strength to the world in the most compelling way. On their part, Saka highlighted the potential for capacity building and collaboration, expressing the Benin government's delight at partnering with Afolayan. And with that entertainment story, we've come to the end of the midday news right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
This is African News on Voice of the People Television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeat, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
to the Spotlight Show. Yes, it's happening here on VOP TV, the place where stories come alive and voices matter. This is the show where we shine the light on creativity, style, culture, music, and purpose-driven people who are shaping the world around us. And yes, today is a new day. And guess what? It's the weekend. Because why? Thank God it's Friday. And I'm sure you know what happens on Friday. You know, all the vibes, all the parties, all the... I don't want to start calling them. But yes, today is a new day to stay grounded, inspired. And we're talking about a lot of things today. And I'm sure you are excited already. And yes, and I know that you've not forgotten that I'm your special baby girl, Prezi. Yes, today, first off, we're talking about things that is happening in Nigeria and things that are happening and beautiful things at that. So first off, we're talking about E-Money. Yes. So E-Money has actually gifted Chinedu Ike, and he is our Nollywood actor that has been, gracing our screens for a very long time. So yes, so Nigerian businessman Emeka Okonkwo, popularly known as E-Money, has gifted Nollywood star Chinedu Ike as a brand new SUV during his lavish 45th birthday celebration. So the surprise presentation took place in presence of friends, celebrities, and associates, drawing cheers from guests as the actor fondly called Aki, received the luxury vehicle. See, it's good to have good friends. I have to